They do have some needs to fill. They need a second boundary corner opposite Christian Gonzalez. They're probably going to need an edge guy. Well, look, they either need to re-sign. They have to pay somebody. If it's not re-signing Josh Uche, they need to replace him. And Matthew Judon's contract's going to need reworking, and he's in the final year of his deal. So short-term, long-term edge is also a need. So the argument I've heard is you have all this money. They probably they either have 2 massive contracts or 3 big contracts in free agency, right? Do you take one of those? Do you put it on the defensive side of the ball so when you get to the draft, you can just hammer offense, offense, offense? If they want to do that, now they've got to give the contract to the right guy. I don't hate that strategy. And for me, there's 3 players between 2 positions that stand out that I look at and I say, okay, yeah, this would be a good move, even if we're not expecting that big defensive splash. Mm-hmm. One is L'Jarius Sneed, the corner from Kansas City.
Yep.
He can play in the slot. He can play in the boundary. I think you pair him, and he's young. He's 27. You pair him with Christian Gonzalez and Jonathan Jones.
Good.
We're talking like back. That's the Patriots. Remember when the Patriots corners were the best in the league? Like you're talking about if Gonzalez comes back healthy and plays at the level he was playing at last year, you're talking about potentially the best cornerback room in the league. So, L'Jarius Sneed's on my radar. The other 2, Josh Allen and Brian Burns, the edge rushers from Jacksonville and Carolina, respectively. Now, some people project them to get franchise tagged, and these are not guys I would trade for on the tag, like T. Higgins. But if they could get one of those guys, now you pair them with Judon, which, oh boy, or it gives you the flexibility that now maybe you move Judon. Maybe you can't agree on a contract. Maybe you trade him and you add an extra top, 60 pick. And you've upgraded at the edge and you've given yourself another premium asset in the draft, maybe add a tackle or a receiver a little higher than you otherwise would. The other name that's been thrown out there is Christian Wilkins from Miami.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good player, but overlaps with Barmore. I don't think they're going to need to change a lot of what they do defensively. He wouldn't be a bad signing, but if they're going to make that kind of splash on defense, to me, Josh Allen, Brian Burns, L'Jarius Sneed. I don't think they would sign multiple of those guys. They shouldn't, because now you're investing too much in the defense.
They have no money left.
Right. But if they reach a deal with one of those guys, like Sneed's projected contract is 3 years, $17 a year, 35 total guaranteed, I would sign that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's a little more complicated with Allen and Burns with the franchise tag out there, but yeah, I don't hate one big move in free agency on defense. I wouldn't do it in the draft. I wouldn't do more than one. But that could you're going to need to lean on your defense. No matter what you do at quarterback, no matter what you do on offense, they're going to be leaning on their defense this year, so you might as well help those guys out a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you absolutely with Burns. I think you can get him out of Carolina immediately.
Well, but then you have to get rid of Mac Jones.
Yeah,
they don't like each other.
Yeah, you get Burns out of Carolina. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Brian Burns for Mac Jones. Who says no?
You get something on the interior with Burns like that, a player that on that caliber. If they don't franchise him, of course.
Right.
Another guy I was kind of looking at, kind of get your opinion on, was Antoine Winfield, Tampa Bay. Do you think he can be a solid replacement if you lose Kyle Duggar? Do you think you can put Winfield back there and give you more of the free safety role that you had from, McCourty? That we're kind of looking for somebody a little more explosive back there who played on a good defense, has got a Super Bowl or whatever. But I think he's coming off a Pro Bowl season as well. What do you think about Antoine Winfield in free agency?
I like Winfield, but I believe the reporting out of Tampa is he's going to be tagged.
Okay.
He's going to get their tag instead of Baker, so I wouldn't, trade for him at that point.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't make a trade for him. I just figured one is he wondering, would he be available, that caliber player? I love the idea of Sneed from Kansas City because, like you said, they're going to need to make stops.
Right,
and
right.
keep the scores low. So whoever they have at quarterback and whatever they have at receiver, they're not trying to score 28 points a week to try and win football games. They need a defense to keep the score around 20 so they can have a shot at winning some of these games, and feel like they're a complete football team. and having Snead and Gonzalez, who I saw a clip of him the other day, I guess from a few weeks ago, he was out there with Steve Smith getting torched like everybody else was. But it was good to see Gonzalez out there working out and back on the football field. But to put Snead and Gonzalez out there, I think you hit the nail on the head. If you have something like that, now you're really balling out there on defense, and you're going to keep a lot of scores down. You're going to get a lot of turnovers. You're going to force teams into mistakes and give your new quarterback or whoever you have short field a lot of the times, and I think that's going to be a good thing for the team. So I like the idea of bringing in Snead as a corner.
You do mention a potential Duggar replacement, though, and there is one guy that interests me in that regard, and that's Jeremy Chin from Carolina. He's expected to be a free agent. Really promising rookie season in 2020. He's picked right around Duggar, actually. I think like just after him or just before him. Similar player, box safety, kind of hybrid linebacker. Smaller school guy, too. They were like really comped to each other in the draft. Mm-hmm. And he was runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2020. Had another solid season in 21. And then they kind of changed their defense. And they essentially did to him what the Patriots did with Duggar. And they moved him back to free safety, and it just wasn't a fit. And then last year he missed time due to injury. So he's not going to command a premium. PFF projects him at $3 million, 1 year, $3 million contract. I think he'll get more than that.
Yeah.
But if you move Peppers into that role primarily, and then Chin becomes the secondary guy, I've loved Jeremy Chin for them. I liked him for them coming out in that draft. A couple years ago at the deadline, people thought the Panthers might move him. I thought he might be a fit. That's the guy I'd look at in that role. One other player who interests me, and this wouldn't necessarily be a big money contract, but they do need to add another boundary corner one way or the other. Because we assume they're going to cut J.C. Jackson, open up whatever it is, like $14 million in cap. Let's say they pay Brian Burns or Josh Allen, right? And okay, so now you're not throwing the bag at L'Jarius Sneed. I'd call Stephon Gilmore. I'd do it.
He's available?
He's a free agent.
Interesting.
So I mean,
he was a free agent.
Dallas could still re-sign him. They have some money issues, so I don't know that they will. But you put him next to Gonzalez, you get him in that meeting room with Gonzalez, you let Gonzalez learn from him. And look, he's not going to be Defensive Player of the Year. He was still solid last year.
Yeah,
he's still
good.
And I don't know that he's like a true ace lockdown corner anymore. If he's your second corner next to Gonzalez for a year, you're in great shape. I know it didn't end great with him here, but look, they brought Malcolm Butler back at one point. It's also a different regime. I don't know how. I imagine he's in good standing with Gerard Mayo. It seems like just about everybody is.
He probably has a good relationship with Mayo and possibly Kraft as well.
And I think Mike Pellegrino, too, who's back as the cornerbacks coach. He spoke highly of Pellegrino when he was here. If they don't sign L'Jarius Sneed, I would call Stephon Gilmore. I'd do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I think that side of the ball is going to get addressed. I think it should. I think we can't just sit back and say, "Oh, the defense was good. They're fine. Just leave them just the way they are." No, they still need to make some improvements there. And I think if this team, like I said, wants to really compete, one thing with the defensive head coach and the guys they've brought in there and the mindset of those guys is they can build the defense and let them develop and build that defense and be the staple of this team, be what they're known for, at least until your quarterback develops. Have a solid defense. And we've seen this season, if you play defense, you're gonna be pretty competitive. You're gonna be borderline playoff team. And if they get anywhere close to that, I would say it's a successful season, until your offense develops so they can match that defense and you become a balanced team. But I think going forward, they can be a solid defensive team. And I don't see why not. Why? What's the issue with trying to add to an already good defense and make them elite?